When I was a youngin' and planning my career, I got some great advice. Find something you love to do and then figure out how to get paid for it. Would you love to deport 11 to 16 million illegal aliens from this country? I certainly would. If the popular vote last November is any indication, most Americans would love to do that too. What if I told you that you could today get a $50,000 signing bonus, a decent salary, possible performance-based bonuses, we'll get to that in a moment, and even student loan repayment, if you have student loans at all, because you don't even need a college degree, all to deport a bunch of, which is something that most of us would probably do for free. If you don't see me behind this desk tomorrow, you will know why. Because that is the current offer on the table from the Trump administration. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Do you remember Jim Acosta? Jim Acosta was the real-life Ron Burgundy from CNN during the first Trump administration. So Acosta is no longer with CNN and still not helping CNN's ratings all that much, but he's out. He's doing his own show now, and he decided to interview a dead teenager. How did he do that? Why did he do that? We will get to that momentarily. One of the weirdest, most disturbing showings from mainstream media journalists, which is saying a lot. First, though, I'm not joking. I know it sounds like kind of a joke. Hey, do you want a new job? We'll go round up. So I'm not joking. It's funny. It's delightful. I'm entertained by it. But this is a great job offer. The Trump administration is currently offering people who maybe they have a college degree, maybe you don't have a college degree, a job with a pretty good salary. I think the average salary for an ICE officer is like $90,000 a year. It starts off much lower, but you can keep moving up. And I think it goes all the way up to like 110, 120 is pretty good salary, plus very good benefits, plus apparently a $50,000 signing bonus, plus, here's the controversial part, performance-based bonuses. Meaning, I'm just making up a number here, but $500 for every you throw out of the country. So you say, all right, let's go. I'm working on commissions. Come here, Jose. Get over here. You start twirling the lasso. This was reported in the New York Times. So take it with a grain of salt, but I think it actually did happen. Tuesday morning, ICE announced in an internal email that it would offer cash bonuses to agents for deporting people quickly. So, the job is to deport people. The deportations are not going fast enough for most of our liking. So they're saying, look, we'll give you cash bonuses for every head that you toss out of the country. Not just that you arrest, but that you actually get deported on the other side of the border. So that was the internal email, according to the New York Times. 4 hours later, an official in the ICE Field Operations Division, Liana J. Castano, wrote an email, said, please disregard. So forget about the cash bonuses. Forget about that for now. Now, the $50,000 signing bonus, that's still good. The agency has made apparently over 1,000 tentative job offers already on these grounds. The big, beautiful bill that Trump just passed, his signature legislation for this year, has just increased ICE's annual budget by many multiples. It's going from $8 billion a year to $28 billion a year. I think that makes it the second best funded law enforcement agency in the country. But here's the key paragraph. Here's the key for this report. The bonus program that ended on Tuesday, almost as quickly as it began, had been described as a 30-day pilot, according to documents reviewed by the Times. Under its terms, ICE would hand out $200 cash, okay, not $500, $200. This is a fiscally responsible administration. $200 bonuses for each immigrant deported within 7 days of being arrested, and $100 for those deported within 2 weeks, according to an initial memo signed by Ms. Castano that was sent to the directors and deputy directors of ICE's field offices across the country. What's the takeaway here? The takeaway is the Trump administration clearly wants to ramp up the deportations. Now, Trump's cynical critics, some on the left, who are just looking for any excuse to attack Trump, but also Trump's critics on the right. There are some people on the right who seem to exist only to be saboteurs to the Trump administration, who are either positioning themselves as more moderate than Trump or even sometimes more to the right of Trump. But all they ever seem to do is criticize Trump and try to gum up the works in the most right-wing administration that we've had that happened to be elected with the popular vote. And they're very sus people. In any case, Trump has gotten uniform criticism from all of them, which is that you promised that you'd have mass deportations, and you lied. We don't have mass deportations. Where are the mass deportations? In some cases, it looks like Obama deported people faster than you, whatever. It's true. The deportations have been relatively slow compared to the 11 to 16 million conservatively that we have in the country. But is that because, this is an open question, is it because the Trump administration doesn't really seriously want to deport these people? Or is it because it's very, very difficult and there are all sorts of opponents and bad actors who are gumming up the works along the way, and it's just a job to begin with because of the policies of Biden and Obama that let these people into the country in the first place? Seems to me clearly it's that it's a tough job and there are all sorts of impediments. A lot of judges, a lot of these random two-bit district judges, a lot of sanctuary city mayors and politicians who make it very difficult for ICE to do its job. But you look at these kinds of programs, how can you tell me Trump doesn't want to deport these people? When you're increasing the budget 3-4-fold, when you are offering $50,000 sign-up bonuses, when you're offering, and this is a great pilot program, and this is, I guess, my final point on this, $100 to $200 bounties per head of every. That's the only way you're going to get this stuff done. You need to use every incentive you have on the table. The most effective part of Trump's deportation policies thus far has been self-deportation. Don't forget, there was a Center for Immigration Studies survey that came out about a month ago looking at the labor force over the course of this year. It found that 1 million illegal aliens had self-deported. They had taken themselves out of the labor force. They'd gone back to their countries. Trump had been trying to impel this with that ICE app that gives illegal aliens a cash bonus if they geolocate in their country of origin and prove they're not in the U.S. anymore. That's been by far the most effective part of it. And of course, it's the cheapest, it's the most efficient. Sure, that's great. But we got to use every incentive available to us. So I don't know why this reported program ended, why I said please disregard. I think it's great. My only criticism of this program, the bounties aren't high enough. Right now it's 1 to 200. Let's make it 3 to 400. But let's ramp it up. Trump wants to do it, clearly. The American people want Trump to do it, clearly. Let's get it going. Okay, now last point on ICE. Not only are they spending money hand over fist to get the out of the country, they are even enlisting Superman.
Hey everybody, Dean Cain here. And for those who don't know, I am a sworn law enforcement officer as well as being a filmmaker. I felt it was important to join with our first responders to help secure the safety of all Americans, not just talk about it. So I joined up. And here's your opportunity to join ICE. You can earn lots of great benefits and pay. Yet since President Trump took office, ICE has arrested hundreds of thousands of criminals, including terrorists, rapists, murderers, pedophiles, MS-13 gang members, drug traffickers, you name it. Very dangerous people who are no longer on the streets. You can defend your homeland and get great benefits like a $50,000 signing bonus. Think about that. Student loan repayment legally. Enhanced retirement benefits and special pay for those in the field operations and law enforcement roles.
This job is so good that even Superman is taking it. That's very impressive. Now, what is this about? Why is the Trump administration enlisting Dean Cain of Superman stardom? We'll get to that momentarily. First, I want to tell you about Helix Sleep. You need to go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. You know, I don't always sleep well because I travel a lot and I'm on the road. And when I'm on the road, that means that I am away from my Helix mattress. Helix will improve your sleep. Your Helix will improve my sleep because I'll rest easier knowing that you're having a good night's sleep, okay? It is really fantastic because what makes Helix different is that they make a mattress for you. It's not just a one-size-fits-all or, okay, here are your 3 options or whatever. They match you with the perfect mattress for your body and sleep style, whether you're a side sleeper, a back sleeper, or somewhere in between. They have got you covered. All you got to do is take their sleep quiz, find your ideal match. Trust me, when you find that right match, you'll wonder how you ever slept on anything else. In fact, I have now finally and formally in my kids' bedroom, I have 3 little boys. One of them still in a crib. The other 2 are in their matching Helix mattresses. Yeah, they're actually slightly different mattresses because they customize them. But they're Helix mattresses and they're little matching beds. It's very cute. Right now is the time to upgrade your sleep. Helix is offering a fantastic Labor Day early access sale. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. Get 20% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/Knowles. 20% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name at checkout so that they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/Knowles. The Dean Cain enlistment in ICE is about one thing and one thing only. Some people are thinking, oh, well, Dean Cain is one of the few conservative actors. It's him. It's John Voight. There are a handful of other people who are Hollywood stars who are reliable Republicans. It's not about that. Dean Cain's been a Republican for a long time. The reason that Dean Cain is being enlisted by the administration right now for this specific issue in this specific agency is because of James Gunn. It's because of James Gunn and that horrible new Superman movie. I'm just going to read the Variety reporting here. Remember when Superman came out? This is a month ago, less than a month ago. James Gunn says Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. Now, that isn't true. By the way, that's not what Superman is about. Superman is a Christ allegory. It's a story. It's a modern myth and legend about a Christ figure. The Father sends the Son to earth and to protect all of mankind, to save mankind from all of these evils that they cannot stop themselves. That's obviously what it's about. It's not about, Paco crossing the Rio Grande with the help of MS-13 to go traffic little girls or something. That's not what Superman's about, believe it or not. But the political activists, especially on the left, they want to make everything about their ideological hobby horses. So James Gunn says, yeah, the new Superman movie, it's all about how great illegal immigration is. And so Trump says, okay, hey, Dean. I don't know that he actually picked up the phone, but this is how I'm imagining it. Hey, Dean, you need to join ICE. Yeah, we'll give you the $50,000 sign-up bonus. Yeah, you get the $100 to $200 bounties per head. But you need to counter this. Not only are you going to disagree with the director of the latest terrible Superman movie, but you're going to go help us round up. That's great. That's great stuff. The administration has its finger on the pulse of the culture. That's what happens when the president is one of the biggest pop culture stars of our lifetimes, of the last, 40 years. It's great stuff. Now, the immigration is not a good place for the left to hit the Trump administration because it's a very popular issue. The deportations are a very, very popular issue. It was right toward the top of priorities for voters in 2024, and the popular vote goes to Trump. So I think they know they're going to lose on that front. They're trying out all sorts of other issues. Trump he's going to mess up the war in Ukraine or in Gaza. Ooh, his trade policy is going to be, they're trying anything to attack him. Hasn't really worked thus far. So one way they're going to try to hit him now is over Washington, D.C., the local government of Washington, D.C. I know it's not a big issue, but they're going to try to hit him and prove that he's a dictator, an authoritarian, a fascist, because he doesn't want people to be mugged and murdered in Washington, D.C. This all started because of Big Balls. You know Big Balls? Big Balls was the Doge staffer, 19 or 20, young guy who was helping to streamline the executive branch of the federal government. Big Balls has left the White House, and he was apparently just seriously mauled during a DC carjacking attempt by 10 vibrant youth who were going out. They were trying to carjack someone. I guess Big Balls intervened to try to help the person and ended up quite bloodied for his troubles. Trump tweets out about this or posts on Truth Social. He says, crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens at the same time knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them. Fact check true. But it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults, yes, and lock them up for a long time, yes, starting at age 14, yes. Harsh but fair. I don't know what else you're going to do. These people begin their careers in crime at these ages, especially when they join gangs. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city, make America great again. So New York Times freaking out about this. Trump threatens federal takeover of Washington after member of Doge is assaulted. Federal takeover. That headline is false. That is fake news. That's a lie. Trump cannot issue a federal takeover of Washington because Washington, D.C. already belongs to the federal government. Let me repeat that. Many liberals don't seem to understand it. They think Washington, D.C. is a city like any other city in the country, like New York, Chicago, L.A. It is not. It is not. It's not a normal city. It's not a part of a state. It is part of the federal district, and the federal government owns it. That is federal property, which means it belongs to all of us. Washington, D.C. does not belong to the local residents of Washington, D.C. They don't have any particular right to Washington, D.C. If they want to have a particular right to their city, go move somewhere else. That is not their city. That has never been their city. They don't deserve representation in our government. That is our city. And that's been true all the way back to the framing of the Constitution. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 7, I think it's, what is it, Section 7? Maybe Section 18. I don't know. Don't quote me on the exact section. Says that Congress runs Washington, D.C. in all cases whatsoever. In all cases whatsoever. How did we get to this point of confusion where local D.C. residents thought that this was their city, that they could do with as they pleased and turn into a garbage heap if they wanted to? The way we got to this confusion is 1973. 1973, Congress gives D.C. home rule. This was a big mistake. You know, I love Richard Nixon. I think he's a highly underestimated president. I think he's one of the great political thinkers of the 20th century. This was one little bit of a mistake, I think. In retrospect, it was a little bit of a mistake. D.C. should not have gotten home rule. Per the Constitution, Congress runs D.C. Practically speaking, Congress had implemented all sorts of government rules and apparatchiks and agencies over the course of those centuries to run Washington, D.C. And this is what relates to President Trump threatening to take over D.C. The president also had a role here because the president, for over 100 years before D.C. home rule, the president would appoint a mayor or a governor of Washington, D.C. So there would be a person whose job it was to run D.C., but this person was not elected by radical leftists who lived in D.C. It wasn't going to be Mayor Bowser. It was going to be a representative of the federal government, as it should be. Now, the other thing you're going to hear leftists say is, well, crime in D.C. has come down recently. Not really. Yeah, crime in D.C. is down a little bit from where it was in 2023. But there was a huge spike leading up to 2023. Huge spike in crime. And it's not just big balls, okay? It's also Henry Cuellar. Henry Cuellar is a Democrat member of Congress. He was carjacked at gunpoint by Capitol Hill. For those of you not familiar with the geography of Washington, D.C., I'm quite familiar with the geography of Washington, D.C., you have nicer areas and less nice areas. See, some of the ritziest areas would be like Georgetown over here on the west side of things. Then pretty nice area by the White House. Capitol Hill's a little less nice in those areas, but still, it's Capitol Hill. You have a lot of lawmakers there. It should be kind of nice, a lot of staffers, there were some bougie bars. A member of Congress is carjacked at gunpoint at Capitol Hill. Northeast D.C. is a war zone, but even by Capitol Hill, around the same time that happened, this is within the last couple of years, Naomi Biden, the granddaughter of the then president of the United States, was carjacked in Georgetown. Georgetown is like the nicest part of Washington, D.C. Was carjacked in Georgetown. It was a Secret Service vehicle. The guy opened up the Secret Service vehicle. A Secret Service agent reportedly fired shots at this guy, didn't get him. The guy gets away with it. Eventually, I think he was arrested. But the guy gets away with it in the immediate aftermath. This is the granddaughter of the president in a Secret Service vehicle in Georgetown. Obviously, something's going wrong in D.C. The question is, if you're President Trump, are you just going to let that happen? Are you going to ignore the letter and spirit, but also letter of the Constitution? Are you going to ignore the fact that Washington is the national capital and that the people of the United States, all over the United States, have a right to it? And the politicians who work in D.C. need to have a safe city. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to embrace some false notion of democracy? Are you going to contradict the Constitution? And are you going to be on the side of the gangsters? That's it. Are you on the side of the innocent people? Are you on the side of the victims? Are you on the side of the Constitution? Or are you on the side of DC thug, gun-wielding, carjacking gangsters? Which is it? Democrats have picked a side. As usual, they're on the side of the criminals and the violent people, and they're against the Constitution. What Trump is doing here, this shouldn't even be a headline. Trump threatens to do the thing that the Constitution tells him to do. Trump threatens to act in the politics of D.C. as the political order is actually set. Okay, yeah, he is. I think that will be pretty popular, actually. Now, speaking of Trump improving Washington, D.C., this is a little bit late. It's about a day late here, but it's a very important story because Trump just hopped up on the roof of the White House and gave an impromptu press conference while he was surveying the land. We'll get to what that was about in a second. First, I want to tell you about Shopify. You got to go to shopify.com/Knowles. You know, I am a business owner. I'm something of a business owner myself. I've started multiple businesses over the course of something like 15 years now. And something I certainly would have loved to have been around for a long, long time, all the way back to the beginning, is Shopify. Shopify makes it so easy. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, 10% of all e-commerce in the US. We even use it for our own DailyWire shop to make sure things are running smoothly and efficiently so all can get the goods. Now, you might be asking, what if I cannot design a website? What if people haven't heard about my brand? No problem. Shopify's got you covered from the start with beautiful, ready-to-go templates that match your brand style, helps you find customers through easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And if you need a hand with everyday tasks, their AI tools created specifically for commerce can help enhance product images, write descriptions, and more. Plus, their award-winning customer support is available 24/7 to share advice if you ever get stuck. Turn your big business into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial. Start selling today at shopify.com/Knowles, shopify.com/KNWLES, shopify.com/Knowles. President Trump, this was now 2 days ago, hops up on the roof of the White House. He's walking around there surveying some of the land, and reporters call out to him. They say, "Hey, Mr. President, why are you walking around on the roof of the White House?" Here are his answers. Thank goodness for AI audio cleanup. We can kind of make out what he's saying.
Looking good, Peter.
Are you going to blow up
I
there?
did. Something beautiful.
What does that mean?
What do you? More ways to spend my money.
Can you give us another raise?
We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country.
Okay, so Trump, they're walking on the roof of the White House. You can hear reporters yelling at him. He's yelling at reporters. He refers to Peter Ducey. I think you hear Mary Margaret Olahan there, our Daily Wire's own Mary Margaret. And he's just responding. He said, huh, what? I'm just, out here for a stroll. But then he says, I'm looking at other ways to spend my money for the country. What does he mean by that? I'll tell you what he's doing. He's looking at all of the improvements he's making to the White House. Namely, he built a nice big flagpole on the north and south lawns. He built, he fixed the Rose Garden, which it was getting very muddy and hard to walk through. He put a nice little terrace on there, and he's building a new ballroom where the east wing of the White House had been built basically as cover for a bomb shelter, actually, initially by FDR. And then then Jimmy Carter's wife turned it into her offices, and he says, no, we need a real nice big ballroom. So he's building a ballroom, and he's doing it apparently with his own money and with some money that he's going to raise from private donors. So it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything. And so he's joking. He said, what am I doing? I'm doing the same thing I've been doing for months now. I'm spending my own money to improve this place as a gift to America. And he's not even just signing the check. What I love about this is he's getting up there like a general contractor. He's getting up there like a New York real estate guy with very particular tastes. And as a New Yorker with very particular tastes, I truly can appreciate that. He's getting up there and he's like, yeah, okay, we're going to need a little bit. It's going to neoclassical. We're going to need, okay, it can't go higher than this. We got to make sure we don't want it to look discordant with that building over there. And hold on, and I want it to be this material. And this is a man in his element. This is a man in his element. I don't know that Trump is sitting poring over the philosophy of Donoso Cortez and Joseph de Maistre. I don't know that President Trump gets into the weeds on every wonky little part of every regulation or bill that comes out of Congress. But this is a man in his element. We're going to make this property, this iconic property in America, look beautiful again, and it's going to look beautiful and proper, and that's going to set the tone for the rest of Washington, which we're also going to help to rebuild and make beautiful again, going back to the executive order from the first administration, Make Federal Buildings Beautiful Again Act, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. This is a guy that I would trust to renovate my house. I would not. I'm very anti-renovation. I'm very anti-putting additions onto homes because if the home starts out with beautiful architecture, and I'm very sensitive to this. I hate modern architecture. Even when they try to make it nice, they use cheap materials and they cut corners and they just cater to the most basic, quasi-bourgeois, comfort-seeking, bad taste. I just don't like it, okay? I would much rather live in a beautiful, tasteful hovel than one of these giant McMansion, vomit-inducing monstrosities. Am I putting too fine a point on it? I don't think I have. And so I'm very anti, put an addition here, fix this root wall, to change out the doors. Because all the new stuff is uglier than the old stuff. That's the problem. Every so often you say, okay, I would trust that guy. Okay, I would try. And that's how I feel about Trump. And it gets to a broader political point. It's not just about buildings and flagpoles. When it comes to Trump, yes, he's a human being. Sometimes he gets things wrong. I say he's got a 99.4% accuracy rate. But there were some initiatives from the first term that I felt, that wasn't great. There even a little bit, sometimes there's a personnel pick. I say, was that the best choice? Yeah, that's going to happen. But the reason that I don't freak out every time some new initiative is announced, every time there's some new, Trump says something that seems to contradict a position that either I hold or that he's campaigned on or whatever. The reason I don't freak out and lose my mind and start crying and whining and screaming like so many people do on the right is because when everything shakes out, his judgment's been pretty good. It's been better than pretty good, actually. And so I just think that's why I'm a plan truster, okay? I am a board-certified, official, licensed plan truster. Yes, you got to make criticisms when they're due. You do. Yes, sometimes things can go wrong, and you got to try to guide things in the right direction. But broadly speaking, I would let that guy renovate my house, and we are letting him renovate the people's house, and we're letting him renovate what the people's house represents. Now, what does that look like? Even all this trade war stuff. We were wondering, okay, is it about getting better trade deals? Is it about bringing jobs back to America? Is it about, I don't know, raising revenue from the tariffs? What's it about? What's he doing? Is he going to destroy the bond market? Is he going to destroy the global economy? Is he going to... All these people whine. And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. Good luck. I'm not pretending that I can read his mind. I think it's probably about getting better trade deals, but I don't know. It's unpredictable. He's difficult to read. And I'm sure that's what foreign leaders are saying as well. Well, we're getting a clearer view of things. We're getting a clearer view. It seems to me that all the trade war stuff is about getting better trade deals. It's about bringing in a little bit of revenue. It's about getting better trade deals. You remember just the other day, he said, I don't know if I can make a trade deal with Canada because they're going to recognize Palestine. And yet the panicans, all these people whining and screaming, saying, Trump's being led around by Israel. He's prioritizing Israeli interests before American interests. I said, you people, you're like a broken record. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Not everything is about the state of Israel. I said, the way you know that Trump's trade deal with Canada has really nothing to do with Israel, that's just a negotiating tactic and an excuse, is that Trump just signed trade deals with England and with the European Union after England and Macron in France both said they were going to recognize a Palestinian state. Both said that they were going to do exactly the same thing that Canada says it's going to do. Trump signs a trade deal with those guys, no problem. Now he's saying it's a problem with Canada. It's obviously not. He's just trying to get a better deal. Doesn't take a genius, doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. If you are a fanatic ideologue where everything is monocausal and it all has to come back to whatever your hobby horse is, be it Israel or something else, then you get confused and you start crying and you whine. But that's obviously not what's going on here. Trump wants a good deal for America. Trump wants to raise money. Trump wants America to get ours. That's what he means by putting America's interest first. So this then raises one question. Okay, how is he going to make good on bringing jobs back to America? Because if all the trade war stuff is just about getting a better deal, maybe raising a little bit of money on the tariffs, maybe just about reducing trade barriers to other countries, well, then how are we going to bring the jobs back? Because that's the third potential objective of the tariffs. And that only really works in a big way if you don't get the better trade deals, because that means that we're just going to have to manufacture more in America. And it's going to cost a little bit more, but that's how it goes. That only really works if you don't raise a lot of money from the tariffs, because if you're raising a lot of money from the tariffs, it means you're still importing all those goods. It means those goods aren't necessarily being made in America. So what about that? Is Trump abandoning his campaign promise to try to bring jobs back for American manufacturing workers? No, not in my read of things. But the way that he is going to achieve that objective is not through the tariffs directly. The way he's going to achieve that objective is by bullying companies into investing in America, as he did yesterday with Apple, one of the great American companies, one of the biggest companies ever on the face of the earth. He did this with Tim Cook in the White House, ultimately in the Oval Office.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest. And this is the largest investment Apple has ever made in America and anywhere else. And it's just an honor to have you. As you know, Apple's been an investor in other countries a little bit. I won't say which ones, but a couple. And they're coming home. $600 billion. It's the biggest there is. The company is also unveiling its ambitious new American manufacturing program, which will bring factories and assembly lines across our country all roaring to life.
There it is. There you have it. We are going to get $600 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. Talk about the man in his element. This is it. This is what Trump is interested in. Trump is interested in getting all the best stuff for America. That's it. And that sounds like really kind of low-level analysis, but there's more to it than it sounds. Because a lot of people who think purely ideologically think, well, Trump wants to get this good thing for America, but not necessarily this other good thing, because that actually contradicts the ideological principle and axiom that is undergirding the first good thing. So, we're going to just pursue the ideology of libertarianism. We're going to pursue the ideology of nationalism. We're going to pursue the ideology of globalism or neoconservatism or this or that. That's not how Trump thinks. And he is not a slave to some egghead ideology on a sheet of paper. So he says, yeah, we're going to be nationalists when it comes to enforcing our borders. We're going to be imperialists when it comes to taking Greenland and maybe Canada. Yeah, we're going to be protectionists when it comes to protecting American manufacturing, but we're going to be free traders when it comes to getting our goods that we manufacture into other markets. Yeah, we're going to be free marketeers when it comes to holding China responsible for illegally propping up some of its industry. But we're going to get involved in making sure that American industry does things that are good for America. We're going to do what is best for America, not outside the bounds of morality, not but yes, outside the bounds of cheap, weak, lame, egghead, modernist, rationalist political ideologies. Yeah, Trump is not an ideologue. That's the man in his element. It seems to me the man would much rather be on the roof of the White House surveying what kind of material they're going to be using to build the ballroom and how beautiful the ballroom is going to be. He would much rather be doing that than, all cozy by the fireplace reading the political liberalism of John Rawls. Okay? And good. I'm glad for that. I'm really glad for that. That's the kind of stuff we need. But what is the ideological basis for getting Apple to invest more in this country? There was a scene where Tim Cook in the Oval Office says, Mr. President, we're presenting you with this plaque. I don't know, it was like a glass plaque. It said Trump, and it was on a solid gold base. 24 karat gold. It was a very nice gold base. And people were making fun of Tim Cook. They said, this man, he looks so obsequious. He looks like he's paying tribute to the king, Donald Trump, and this is unseemly, and this is... I think we could use a little more of that. Because you know what's been happening in recent decades? All of the American corporations have been bending over backwards trying to flatter and impress and buy off the leaders of other countries. It's not that all of a sudden now they're giving gifts and great shows of respect and reverence to a world leader, and that's a big, horrible change. No, they've just been doing it to Xi Jinping. I would like them to do it to the United States. I would like them to be more interested in currying favor with the United States through the person of, not for the personal benefit of, but through the person of Donald Trump, who is in this instance acting not as a private citizen, but as the representative of the American people, most of whom wanted him to be president and expressed that in November. There's a lot coming to DailyWire Plus, and it's not inclusive, safe, or moderated by NPR. You'll love it. On August 13th, you will see the Pope and the Fuhrer exposing one of the great calumnies of the 20th century, showing how Pope Pius XII did not just stay silent during World War II, one of the great men of the 20th century. The Vatican's receipts are wide open. Check it out, hosted by your favorite podcast host. Then, this fall, Isabel Brown's new show joins the lineup alongside the most trusted and most handsome voices in conservative media, all ad-free, uncensored, with live chat. So you're not just watching, you're part of the conversation. We built this because no one else would. Now it's yours too. Go to dailywire.com. Become a member today. My favorite comment yesterday is from DePap93. Says, I'm a Guatemalan in Guatemala. Please just keep her for yourselves. I think you're referring to that awful woman. I don't even remember her name, and I don't want to remember her name. That awful woman, the Democrat Congress lady who was in Mexico City for the Pan American Conference. And she said, she said it in Spanish. She said, I am a Guatemalan before I am an American. I said, get her back to Guatemala. No. Well, the Guatemalans who listen to this show, they say, please don't. You'll leave her in America. Also, hey, I have to make a correction. I just said that Trump is right 99.7% of the time. I like to flatter myself and say that I have a similar accuracy rate. But I did get something wrong yesterday. Elisa pointed this out. I was referring to the Democrat Congress lady, Katie Porter, who I guess is interested in running for governor of California. And I said, she's the one that got caught up in that freaky sex scandal. I got my California Democrat lady congressman mixed up. I meant to refer to Katie Hill. I think that's her name, Katie Hill, the one who, she kind of defended Matt Gaetz sometimes, and she was doing weird like threesome stuff. It was all public. I'm not revealing private sins. But Katie Porter there are a lot of problems with Katie Porter. She ain't that. One does not imagine her engaging in that kind of stuff. So anyway, my apologies to Katie Porter. She is awful for totally different reasons, but she's not the sex freak Democrat California Congress lady. She's the other one. Okay. Now we have to get to a truly disturbing story. You remember Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta was the real life Ron Burgundy from the first Trump term. He worked for CNN. He actually came up to college to interview me one time when I was an undergraduate many moons ago. It was the first time I met Jim Acosta. It's kind of fun. That's a little lore that exists out there on YouTube or something. But he was I'm a newsman. I'm an establishment legacy media newsman. I have my perfectly coiffed hair. I state my liberal opinions in a way that is laconic and seems to be objective, but it's not. And he finally got canned. He just made himself the story one too many times in the Trump admin. It was embarrassing for CNN. So he's doing his own show now, the Jim Acosta show. And he decided for a viral interview, he was going to interview a kid who was shot in a school shooting. But he wasn't going to interview one of the kids who survived. He was going to interview a dead kid. How does one do that? Well, it's not possible. But the way that we can pretend to do that now, thanks to new technology, because of new technology, we can blame new technology, is through AI. And so Jim Acosta purported to interview a dead kid by interviewing an AI model kind of based on him. I'll just play a little snippet because it's too disturbing to play much more.
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin. We definitely need more of that.
Oh, man. We have accused Democrats for a long time of propping up the bodies of dead kids to push their usually totally disconnected anti-gun, anti-constitution laws. Now they're not even propping up their bodies. They're propping up supposedly their souls. They're trying to reanimate them. They're trying to bring them back to life to do it, to spread their propaganda. Not the kids' own words, but the propaganda of the pro-gun control people. Horrifying. This interview goes on for a long time. Yes, Joaquin, and pretending that he's talking to this kid. And the AI, happily for now at least, is still in that uncanny valley where you say, like, that's not the kid. That is some sick, grotesque, zombie simulation of the kid. Horror. Now, this kid, Joaquin Oliver, died at age 17, very sadly, in the Parkland school shooting. That was now 7 years ago. Someone makes an AI model. Who makes the AI model? This is actually the sadder part of the story. And this is what gets to a broader takeaway than just Jim Acosta is a creepy journalist or the establishment media have no credibility. The bigger takeaway comes from who made this AI model. It was made by the late kid's parents. This is the most sorrowful aspect of the story as far as I'm concerned. This is not the place. Computers and zeros and ones are not the place to put your hope for the resurrection. That's not going to bring your kid back to life. That's not your kid. That's not your kid. And it's not, and you could say, I know it's not my kid, but it makes me feel better. It's not going to make you feel better. Well, it reminds me of him. That's not him. Look at a picture. Pray. But that's not him. The Death is when the soul and the body separate. The soul is not just some kind of mystical concept that gullible people believed in the Dark Ages that now we know doesn't exist. The soul is recognizable merely from human reason, and it's actually undeniable because the soul is the principle of life. The soul is what distinguishes animate objects from inanimate objects. We have this word anima for the soul. That's the principle of life. Do you deny that there is a principle of life? I'm speaking to you, general public. I'm not speaking to you, Jim Acosta, or the parents of this poor kid or any. Do you understand this, right? You broad skeptics, you broad rationalists. There's a difference between life and not life. There's a difference between me and my leftist here's Tumblr. That would be the soul. What is the soul? The soul is the substantial form of the body. My body is made up of all sorts of atoms and chemicals and molecules and tissue, and those things could exist on their own. If you chop my hand off, you throw my hand over there, it would be chemically identical to my hand on my wrist, but it would not be part of my body. It would not be, after a short period of time, it would not be alive. It would just be matter. But the substantial form of the body that gives coherence to my body, not as just individual atoms, but as a unified thing with integrity, it gives Michael, is my soul. The soul and the body separate at the moment of death. You're not going to bring the soul back by making robots. You're not. There is a way to honor your loved ones who have died. There is, in fact, a way to see them again. Or there is, in fact, a way to have eternal life. I should put it in a more precise way. There is a way to have eternal life. It is not through uploading your consciousness, which is not possible, to a robot. It's not. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? It's actually talked about in the Bible. This is making dumb idols. They said, don't worship dumb idols or you're going to become like dumb idols. That's in the Psalms, I believe. This is making dumb idols. It's making us all dumb, and it's making us all miserable. And it's making Jim Acosta look even more ridiculous than he did before. And it's not going to give you any hope. That is an expression of despair. Don't fall into it. There is plenty of cause for hope. It's not going to be found by doing what people do when they make these AI models, which is trying to make yourself God, trying to remake a person, trying to bring a person back from the dead. It is possible. Resurrection is possible. You're not the one who does it. You're not the one who was laying the foundations of the earth. You're not. And he who was is here to help you, but you got to cooperate with him. Okay, a fitting transition now because it's Theology Thursday. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.